In today's world, it can feel like developed countries, especially in the West, are hell-bent on making it difficult for people to build their financial future. One year, it's yet higher taxes. Next, it's bureaucracy that makes basic business ridiculously difficult. More and more people, particularly the wealthy, are fed up with this and they're leaving. And one country that's consistently top of the list as the country they flock to is the United Arab Emirates, or UAE. But why exactly? Well, in this video, we'll look at how the UAE is attracting people and capital from around the world, the growth and opportunities arising as a result, and whether the momentum is likely to be maintained. My name is Guy, and you're watching Coin Bureau Finance. First up though, I must make one thing clear. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video should be considered financial advice. This is just our take on the UAE and its position in a dramatically shifting world. And if you want to see more stuff like this, hit those like and subscribe buttons and flick that notification bell too, so you don't miss the next video. Alright, now, when people choose where to live, they're usually thinking about where they can build a future for themselves and their family. A place where they can live, work, compound, and build without constantly feeling like the rules are shifting under their feet. Exactly what this means depends on the individual. If you're a founder, you care about ease of doing business, access, and favourable tax setups. If you're a high earner, you care about take-home pay and stability. If you're an investor, you care about flows, liquidity, and whether the growth story still has legs. Now, of course, some people aren't focused on that stuff at all, and that's fine. But for today's video, that's what we're going to be focusing on, and that's how we're going to judge the UAE. Does it attract people with options? Is it pulling in serious firms? Does it keep momentum when the global backdrop turns a bit ugly? And full disclosure, I myself have lived in the UAE for the past 3 years, and Coin Bureau is based in the country. But rest assured, our analysis will be impartial and indeed based on personal experience. So, let's start with a few basic features and figures that explain why the UAE is even in the conversation. For starters, it's widely known for a very favourable personal tax setup. There's no federal tax on individuals' income, and residents generally aren't taxed on capital gains. Meanwhile, on the business side, taxes are very light compared with most other developed countries. There's a 0% corporate tax rate on taxable income up to the equivalent of around $100,000 and 9% above that, but with various rules, exemptions, and special cases. That tax setup is all the more attractive when you combine it with the general growth outlook for the country. IMF forecasts heading into 2026 have growth sitting around the 5% mark, which is absolutely not what you might expect from a country that's already wealthy and already plugged into global finance. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of the UAE's December 2025 review is in the same ballpark, projecting 2026 growth at 5.2%. So, there's seemingly lots of growth and opportunity in the UAE. And what's more, central bank figures show the story isn't just about oil, which many consider as the default reason why Gulf countries are doing well. The UAE's central bank highlights non-oil momentum across areas like financial and insurance services, manufacturing, construction, and trade. That's a healthy mix better positioned to survive a choppy global cycle. And there's another signal that you'll only see if you look past the skyscrapers and supercars. Institutions are following the flow. Dubai's financial hub has become home to over 100 hedge funds. That's a major infrastructure shift, and it shows that the UAE is making progress in its bid to become a hub for big finance. That means more professional services, deeper capital markets, and a thicker network effect around finance, all strong confirmation that the UAE's policies are working. But let's keep this grounded. The UAE has obvious advantages, but it also has real trade-offs. The climate is intense. The lifestyle can be very expensive. The market is competitive, and the legal and cultural norms are different from what many newcomers might expect. So, needless to say, if you're considering relocating or investing, The smartest approach is doing proper due diligence, respecting local laws, and stress testing any plan before you commit. So, we're not saying the UAE is perfect. Nowhere is. And yet, people are coming in droves. So, what really drives people to make the move? And what kinds of numbers are we talking about here? Well, let's start with one anecdote provided by Reuters from January this year. In that piece, a 32-year-old entrepreneur moved from London to Dubai after getting hit with a substantial backdated 6-figure VAT bill. For that young man, it was the final straw, and there are many more like him. In that typical story, Dubai isn't some kind of fantasy land where everything is perfect. It's a place that offers a practical solution, though, a supportive environment for building that isn't constantly clipping more off the top. But let's have a deeper look at the objective numbers. Henley & Partners' Private Wealth Migration Report 2025 outlined that a record 142,000 millionaires were projected to relocate internationally in 2025. That figure is projected to be 165,000 for 2026. For the 2025 figure, the UAE was forecast to pull in a net inflow of just under 10,000 relocating millionaires, the highest in the world. Meanwhile, the UK was forecast to see a net outflow of 16,500. Now, whether you agree with every assumption in that model or not, the bottom line is that mobile wealth is moving, and the UAE keeps showing up at the top of the list of where it's moving to. And you don't need to turn this into a culture war to understand what's going on. A lot of Western countries have been tightening the screws on the globally mobile. The UK, for example, abolished the non-dom tax break that let wealthy foreign residents limit tax exposure by keeping assets and income offshore. Now, whatever your opinion on that policy, it changes the hard numbers for people with options, and it pushes them to shop around for alternatives. So, why does the UAE keep catching so much of these flows? Well, one reason is that residency is treated like an actual product. The UAE offers several options in its Golden Residency program. This is essentially a pathway that allows eligible residents and their families to live, work, study, and invest in the country, with long-term visas available depending on category. That means people can immediately start long-term planning, particularly important for families. And that's in contrast to the uncertainty associated with getting set up in many other countries. Meanwhile, another reason the UAE is attracting people is that serious business ecosystems there are expanding fast, and they're built for international operators. In the first half of 2025, the Dubai International Financial Centre saw company registrations rise 32%, with over 1,000 new firms, pushing total active companies to 7,700. That's more lawyers, accountants, bankers, wealth managers, compliance teams, and capital. All the stuff that makes a place functional when you're trying to run global money or a global business. And it's not only Dubai. Abu Dhabi Global Market saw a 42% surge in active companies in the first half of 2025, reaching nearly 3,000 firms, alongside a 42% rise in assets under management. The reason finance people care about Abu Dhabi? Well, for one thing, there's proximity to sovereign wealth funds managing nearly $2 trillion. When you're trying to raise capital and build partnerships, being physically close to massive pools of long-term money is a real advantage. So, based on the factors we've looked at so far, the UAE starts to look less like a trend and more like an outcomes-based choice. Dubai and Abu Dhabi continue to pull in interest from would-be family office clients from all over the world. Even with broader regional risks in the headlines, the UAE is attracting people and capital as it offers a compelling package. And by the way, we have an offer for you, the viewer, a free weekly Coin Bureau Finance newsletter where we cover everything finance, macro, and politics. We also have exclusive deals for Coin Bureau Finance viewers, discounts, bonuses, and promotions put together exclusively for viewers of this channel. All you have to do is click the link in the description or scan this QR code. Now, the newsletter is completely free and These deals won't last forever, so do check them out. And now, back to the video. When a place starts pulling in people and capital, there's one sector that almost always benefits first: real estate. It's the asset class that consistently rises when a region is on the up, and the UAE has been no exception here. Let's have a quick look at Dubai's 2025 stats to get an idea of the scale. The Government of Dubai Media Office said the Emirate recorded over 270,000 real estate transactions worth 917 billion dirham in 2025. That's about $250 billion, and it was up 20% year on year. That whopping sum was spread over about 3.1 million transactions once you include sales, leases, and real estate services. The investor base, meanwhile, reached about 193,000 people, including just under 130,000 new investors. Resident investors accounted for 56% of the total, and the average time for a renter to become an investor was 4.8 years. So, 2025 was quite the year, and it indicates plenty of liquidity and stickiness. But a market can have high prices and still be fragile if nobody's actually transacting. But Dubai has been the opposite. Lots of turnover, lots of participants, and lots of repeat behaviour. And when leases are a big part of the activity, it also tells you something else. Returns don't just come from hoping that prices rise. A big chunk of the story is the rental market and whether demand stays strong enough to absorb new supply at the right price. But it's also a segmented market. What happens in the market for ultra-prime waterfront villas isn't always what happens in mid-market apartments. The buyers have a very different profile and the liquidity can be different as a result. So, some subsectors have boomed harder than others, and some are soaring while others are cooling off. At the top end, the numbers, though, have been astronomical. Knight Frank reported 500 home sales above $10 million in Dubai during 2025, including 68 deals above $25 million. They also outlined a $150 million penthouse deal in Business Bay as the biggest single purchase in Q4 2025, and forecast prime values could still expand by around 3% during 2026. Another signal here is that big money isn't only buying property, it's also buying the soft infrastructure around the property market. In September last year, Permira and Blackstone took a $525 million minority stake in Property Finder, a Dubai-based real estate platform. That's basically a bet on the whole property market ecosystem. But for all of these bullish figures, it's important to keep a level head. UAE Real Estate, Dubai in particular, is well known for big cycles, and things can change very quickly. In September 2025, Moody's Ratings asserted cause for concern when it comes to the next leg of the cycle. Moody's expects UAE home prices to start easing from 2026, with Dubai especially exposed as a large wave of new supply comes online. And they do mean a large wave. More than 150,000 apartments and villas are scheduled for delivery across 2025 to 2027. According to Moody's, that's roughly a 20% expansion of Dubai's existing housing stock. And I can tell you from personal experience, the amount of building work you see going on as you drive around Dubai is mind-boggling, and there's plenty more waiting to start. So, for 2026, it's important not to confuse momentum with immunity. In real estate, the biggest edge is not becoming a forced seller. Given how global risk markets have been soaring over recent years, it's not likely that the UAE's real estate market just continues an up-only trajectory. Even if more capital continues to enter and the long-term trend is up, there will likely be bumps along the way. Now, although Dubai real estate is grabbing most of the headlines, other sectors in the UAE are also showing impressive growth. As we looked at earlier, there's the financial sector, which keeps deepening, and that will be a major theme for the UAE going forward. But if you want to understand why the UAE keeps pulling people in, we need to look no further than the front door, tourism and aviation. Dubai's tourism machine continues to scale, and the growth has been impressive. Dubai's Department of Economy and Tourism said the city welcomed 17.5 million international overnight visitors from January to November 2025, up 5% year-on-year. The significance of this goes beyond those numbers, though. Tourism isn't just about hotels and beaches. It's also a demand engine for airlines, restaurants, retail, events, and other services. That broad-based spending supports jobs and makes the city feel more alive and investable as the visitor base expands. And of course, related to this is the UAE's position as a major transport hub, which has been a big advantage. Dubai International Airport confirmed that it handled 46 million passengers in the first half of 2025, and the CEO was projecting 96 million passengers by year-end and 100 million in 2026. But there's also an ambitious long-term plan here, shifting operations by 2032 to Al Maktoum International, which is being expanded in a project priced at around $35 billion. The projected annual capacity there? 260 million passengers. So, simply put, that's a confident bet that the UAE's role as a global connector is going to keep growing. And as the country works towards that level of connectivity, logistics becomes another major opportunity for expansion. In its latest release, focused on H1 2025, Dubai-based logistics firm DP World reported some very strong numbers. Revenue was up 20% year-on-year to $11.2 billion, and container volumes rose 6.7% year-on-year. As global trade flows get messier, being the place that still moves things efficiently is a highly valuable business model. But the UAE is also doing its best to expand into new areas, including industries like AI. In November 2025, Microsoft and Abu Dhabi's G42 announced a 200 megawatt expansion of data center capacity in the UAE. In January this year, G42's chief said they expected shipments of advanced AI chips to arrive within months, including from names like Nvidia and AMD, to support that build-out. Whether you're bullish or skeptical on the AI cycle, this tells you that the UAE is serious and proactive about attracting high-value industries and keeping them anchored locally. And Abu Dhabi has been making big institutional-style moves elsewhere. In March 2025, state-owned investment firm MGX invested $2 billion into the world's leading crypto exchange, Binance, calling it the exchange's first institutional investment. Binance has since made Abu Dhabi its deepest base of operations, making the emirate its core regulatory anchor. There are other industries in focus for the UAE too, such as its long-term clean energy transition. In January this year, energy company Masdar reached 65 gigawatts of global clean energy capacity, on the way to a 100 gigawatt target by 2030. Now, that's not an exhaustive list of everything the UAE is doing to build new industries and broaden its economy, but it captures the point. The country has a clear plan. Keep doubling down on what it already excels at, while deliberately scaling up the next wave of sectors alongside it. So, that's an undeniably strong outlook for the UAE right now, but top country to be in is never a universal title. It depends on your profile and what you're actually looking to do. As we said, no place is perfect, with the UAE being no exception. But let's break that down a bit. If you're a globally mobile founder or high earner, the pull is pretty strong. There's much less friction, there's strong connectivity, and perhaps the most favourable tax setup on the planet. That's a pretty compelling package already, before even looking at the broader upside. The UAE is also a famously safe country, and it's generally a very convenient place to live, bar the traffic anyway. But for many, there's a bit of a lifestyle reality check. A city like Dubai can be fantastic, but it's certainly not cheap. Housing and schooling costs have risen as a major tide of people and money has flooded in. That's the other side of the story when it comes to booming markets that have seen so much growth. And that upward pressure in costs has hit Dubai the most, as it has historically been the most popular emirate. So much so, in fact, that newcomers and indeed existing residents are increasingly opting for alternative Emirates like Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, and Ras Al Khaimah. But beyond cost, the UAE is also a highly competitive place. You're arriving in the same wave as a lot of other very capable people, so moving to the UAE isn't exactly an edge. Your edge is what you bring, whether that's certain skills, capital, networks, or a plan that still works if markets, either domestic or global, cool down. There's also the human element we mentioned earlier. The UAE has its own legal and social norms. Some people love that clarity. Others miss the familiarity of home. Either way, it's not a place to wing it. You need to be intentional and respectful, or there will likely be consequences. So, is the UAE the number one country for 2026? For people who can earn well, plug into the economy, or use it as a base for global business, it's absolutely top tier, and there's reason to believe the country is set for further growth. But for people who need a lower cost lifestyle, want cooler weather, or prefer a system that works just like home, it might not be the best fit. To each their own. I, for one, can personally say that I'm very happy here and not planning to move anytime soon. But hey, don't let that put you off. And well, that's our outlook on the UAE and its gravitational pull as people and capital flood in. But what do you think? Is the UAE number one, or are there better places to go with better opportunities? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you want to learn about a European country positioning itself for similar success, you can check out our video on that right over here. That's all from me for today though, so as always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. This is Guy, signing off.